welcome back to some more Project Clean. Um, it's been about a little over a month. I'm sorry I haven't posted anything. I've been fairly busy trying to work on this project, and it's been pretty busy. I ran into some issues with both audio and the UE interface. As you can see, I have a UE working now, and I have music, which and other audio things. So let's look around. You can move around. Boing, jump. And sound effects and stuff like that. Turn off this music real quick. Yep, it's been pretty busy. It took me a while to get to this point. And everything's in order now, which which means hopefully after this I'll be able to start really just prototyping the game and get out of pre-alpha. That's my goal for the next thing. But for right now, I'm gonna the remainder of the video is gonna have issues that came up throughout the past month or so, and let's let's get this started, man. All right, I've finally got all the issues for iteration 2 kind of complete. As you can see, let's look at that. Look at it real quick. Iteration 2 is going to be due on January 7th. I had to kind of push it up a bit because the video uploading stuff is taking some time, but will have this iteration done by that time period. Let's go back to click on this and look at it. Look at the current issues that's part of this iteration. Oh, good lord, it's taking forever. There we go. As you can see, I have everything I can think of. UE programming, which is basically I need to make a UE for the game. I need to get into state management, which is a very important part. You might have noticed that games, they have like I don't know, a logo screen for like logos for like the company name or like the engine that you're using. Then you go to like the start menu, then you click start on the game, and you go to like to the game itself and start playing. That's an example of what state management does. All games use some form of state management. For my particular case, I'm going to be using a finite state machine for this purpose, which I'm going to wrap in a set of useful functions when I get to it. I'm also going to be integrating bolt physics, which will be kind of another task in because well, bolt physics, as I demonstrated before on a video I created, is that it helps you with collision detection, collision responses, that sort of thing. Also has the ability to do triggers, which is not a physics object. It's just an area where if a player enters into that set of area, they will trigger a function callback. Um, for right now, I'm only doing rigid body physics, which basically means that it just does physics to like just solid objects. I might consider doing some soft body physics as well, but we'll have to see about that. Um, Audio, I'm gonna be using OpenAL to make my own audio system. I'm thinking about this. If I don't want to use OpenAL, I can always use FMOD for this purpose, which FMOD is a kind of proprietary is a proprietary API, but it's also open source. And plus, my game being open source, I can probably use it for free because I'm not going to sell it. It's a very popular sound library. It's used in professional games. I'm trying to think if there's an open source license for it. I'm just not really sure what it is. I'm gonna add that to my milestone. Yeah, I changed my mind. I'm gonna use FMOD. Come on, load. While that's loading, I need to optimize the procedural generation because it's so slow. Um, the I'm gonna use the multi kind of threaded method of doing it for now. There is another one, a method I want to try, which is using the a pixel shader for this purpose. But for right now, I think doing it with a just multi-threaded might be just the best kind of thing to do for the moment. Silly issue. I want to make the sky color kind of a baby blue color or a sky color, so it doesn't look weird because the kind of bright blue color just makes it look kind of funny. I just want to change the clear color to that because for now I'm not going to have a skybox until I start doing polishing the game. And I gotta move code around because it's a mess. Alright, here's FMOD. Let's see here. It doesn't say on the page. Yeah, FMOD's a great library. I might actually consider. Let's want FMOD core. Let's see here. Uh, I'm not real sure. Oh, well, I'll take a look at that later. Um, Other than that, I do have another issue. I think FMod's open source, but it also has a proprietary license. That's what. That's the only thing I want to know. Uh, I also have another issue. It's not part of iteration two. It's kind of my bucket list for this project. I'll show you some of the stuff I actually want to accomplish. Like oh here it is. Let's see here. Indie. Okay, yeah, I think it might allow me to do an open source project. Okay. Sorry for being quiet. Let's get back to this. This video is gonna be much longer. um, yep, it's just a bucket list of stuff I want to do. I'm gonna edit this real quick. Yep, I'm gonna officially use FMod for my audio instead of trying to make my own audio API, and it will save me time for it. So yeah, this is just a list of stuff I want to do. I want to learn how to do animation with bones animation. Finally, integrate a both physics with my procedural generated island system. Procedurally generate a skybox. Release a polished 3D game from scratch without an engine. A polished game, not like it's just a cube and you're just walking around. I want an actual character running around, playing with AIs, running around the map, trying to collect sticks and whatever. Whatever. I just want an actual polished game out. I do want to improve my speaking ability. I need to do this anyway. It'll help me out in real life. That's one goal I have. Understand AI programming. I want to make AI engaging for the player. Understand deferred rendering and integrate it a physically based lighting BRDF and using it effectively basically means that I want to do deferred rendering instead of forward rendering. As you may know, forward rendering is basically you do lighting across the geometry in your pixel shader or your vertex shader, depending what type of lighting you want to do. I want to fully understand deferred lighting, which basically moves it to a post process, and I want to apply physically based lighting to that instead of like the old kind of Lambertian shading or I guess blend fong lighting. I want to use something that's more physically based because you can make much more realistic materials with that. Finally, create omnidirectional shadow mapping, which basically means point light shadow mapping. Just I want to know how to do it. You have to use a cube map for it. Let's see here. I want to make an improved water shader, which my last attempt at this, it looked pretty good, but I know I can do better. I want to do depth-based water. Basically means that the further you go underwater, you can't see anything. You can't see the bottom because there's like a kind of a cloud. I want to kind of understand how to do that, so the water will look much nicer in the game. I want to understand the game development process, which is take the initial ideas of a game, develop it, and get to the point where you can release it. I need to understand this process. This first game is not going to be. Yeah, I'm not going to release it for profit. I'm just doing this to kind of understand how to release a free game first, so I can get these other things I have just kind of out of the way. Improve modeling ability, which just try to learn how to do art. I let you all know I suck at art, so hopefully throughout this project I'll improve quite a bit. Learn how to do sound design in both for both music and sound effects, which is I'm trying. I don't want to use other people's assets for this. I'm trying to make my own stuff, so I want to be able to make some like background ambient music and try to do my own sound effects without going through some royalty free kind of like online stuff, because you never know about the licensing out there. And if I do it this way, I can license it under like a Creative Commons because I created it, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Optimize and improve videos creation for YouTube and BitChute pipeline, which basically means putting how to get videos from a video editing software, which I'm using an open source thing for that for now. I want to be able to improve that. I have still a lot to learn about that. Really understand the graphics pipeline. Um, Once I start really kind of going out of OpenGL and start moving on to Vulkan or even Direct 3D11 for that matter, the modern graphics kind of like techniques revolves around pipelining. Which pipelining basically means you send like information, like say vertex information, you send it down to like certain areas, and it just goes kind of down like a pipeline. It does certain things to it, like say you have a transfer, like transforming it from like local coordinates to screen space, for example. That's part of the pipeline. It's the transformation portion of it. Then you go. Then it goes from like trying to remember normal divide or something, and then it gets pushed to the fragment shader or pixel shader if you're a Direct 3D guy. But fragments actually makes more sense because technically you're not dealing with pixels in the fragment shader. You can actually hide stuff with the fragments, where pixel shader would kind of tell you that it's just either off or on, but you can actually hide fragments. So yeah, fragment shader makes more sense for this kind of purpose. Let's just move on. Improve grass rendering. I want grass to move with the wind direction. I should probably add tree rendering to that too. I'll get to that in a bit. Learn most aspects of bullet physics library, which is where I want to learn basically the API. I've only used the API. I just don't really know it that well. Fully understand why I need vector matrix library, and why would I use different methods. Like, let's just say, for example, why the heck would I use a dot product? You can do a number of things with a dot product, but what would I use that for a game? Hmm. Um, Create a simple post-processing effects system, basically pipelining that. Um, I want to do some ambient occlusion mapping, which I'm probably going to use SSAO for this, and the new added issue for FMOD. This is basically just a bucket list of stuff I want to do. If you want to check it out, look through it if you want to. I think that's it for this. So I guess I'm about to get started. Hopefully by the end of iteration 2, I should have the framework and I can start prototyping the game. Hello again. I just got done with a very simple issue. Um, it is the clear color issue. I just want to get this done real quick. Um, it's pretty simple. I just took these values right here, added them to clear color, and then divided by 255. It doesn't know this one out. Here it is. Come on. Alright, as you can see, I'm using the sky colors there. If you take a look at it, it makes the land and the water look more natural in a lot of ways. I think this is it for this issue. The next one I'm going to work is trying to optimize this good piece of land right here. So, let's see in a minute. Alright, hello again. This is an update to demonstrate the optimizations I did for land generation. I just made it where you can upload it for up where it takes only like maybe 1 to 2 seconds for it to upload. Um, right here is a demonstration and a comparison between the two. Alright, now that you saw comparisons, let me just run it on my end real quick. Pretty fast, way faster than it was before. This will save me a lot of headaches. What I'm doing is I'm doing multi-threading, which is right here. I build up 8 different threads, or should I say at least 64 threads. I'm gonna play with that number, see if I can make it faster. But for now, it makes 64 threads. Then it divides it to get the correct size for it, and then excuse me, I just loop through it and generate some thread data, which is up here. I have an ID for it. I have X coordinate, Y coordinate, which is to make sure it doesn't overwrite anything. Then the width and the height is basically the max I can go to. And it has the generator data, which is to get access to stuff. I have to, if you look right here, this SDL create thread, it will call a callback, which is a proc thread callback, which is up here on this one. And here is the kind of just the generator script. I've also combined the pixel section with it to make it faster, so I don't have to do all these for loops a whole bunch of times. Let's see here. If you may know that you have to get rid of threads, wait thread in SDL does delete the thread. Just to let you know. Alright, I think this is it for this update. The next thing I'm gonna work on, I'm not gonna close this issue yet. I got to create pre-processing to fix up the blend map. So I'm gonna get started on that next. Alright, I just got done with the simple maintenance code issue. I decided to do this before I continued with the terrain thing because I'm gonna have to build up an extra layer, which I'll show in a minute. Basically, what I needed to do was move the code around a bit because it's kind of making the graphics section kind of bloated. As you can see, I have a few things for the filter system I'm about to work on already. I'm kind of set up. Well, I moved all that extra high-level stuff to their own file, and they are shader, geometry, render pass, and the camera. And I have them in order for how they work. Alright. Excuse me. The reason why I decided to pause it is that I was looking at one of my older projects, and it has a pretty well defined filter system. However, I'll show you the header file. This filter system is kind of complicated. It includes a number of things: shaders, has a standard kind of input output combination stuff. You can split a texture into like its components. There's also generators, like for example, generating a height map, which I might consider doing with shaders eventually to make it faster. There's just a lot of stuff going on here. Render buffer, frame buffer has the locations of it. Just a lot of things that you can do with this filter system. It's probably one of the most advanced filter systems I've ever created from the past. Yep, and I have it all wrapped up into a filter manager, which basically has stuff for like copying, grayscale, desaturation, invert, negate, both types of blurs, and then it has a couple combo filters, which for linear combo, add, subtract. Then I have a bunch of function calls to basically take in the texture, and it does stuff. Yeah, it's a fairly complicated system. I'm going to try to re-implement this, but I'm going to improve it based off of how my system works on this side, which for right now it's kind of abysmal. I don't have a lot of stuff to play with at the moment. Alright, I think it's it for this update. Hello again, I'm back. I just got done with, let's go to issues. Come on. And just this thing. I just got done with this thing. This thing took forever. I was trying to remember how to do it because I did it with the previous two terrain generators that I made, or actually three, because there's another one that I built, but I didn't render anything with 3D with that one. I had to remember how to use frame buffers, which I haven't used in about a year or so. It's been a while since I've used them. Well, I was chasing a silly bug because of it. For some reason, when I was testing my new generated blend map, which I'll get to that in a sec, I was releasing it in this in the rendering function for some reason, not unbinding it. I feel so stupid. Oh well, let's move on to this. I had a what I was basically doing was I kind of redid part of the renderer, and I got a nice little optimization boost from it because of instead of creating a ton of objects, which I'll show you real quick. Um, Not you. I need this one, and I need this one. I'll show you graphics real quick. Instead of actually, I think it's render pass. Render pass. I'm blind as a bat. As you can see, get out of here. As you can see, I completely just gutted the render pass class. I made it super easy to use. And to be honest, I might be able to get rid of this and just use a lambda for the render pass manager. It's because when I had the previous kind of iteration of it, had a render context. Well, I started thinking about it, and that's going to create a bunch of like little objects, and that's going to kind of slow down the renderer. So what I did was moved all those functions to a simple static group of functions in this render kind of render system structure. I've added a few, as you can see. I'm going to start moving parts of OpenGL and wrapping it here that I don't use in one of these kind of classes. I also added in a render buffer and a frame buffer to this because I'm going to need them. Other than that, I think I already showed that I moved everything to their own corresponding folder. Preprocessor. As you can see, I have a list of type of preprocessors that you can have for texture. The current one I have implemented is a standard one, which takes in a single value and then it outputs something, which is pretty generic. So I'm gonna these other three. This one is combined. It takes two textures, combine them together, and it has an output. iSplitter splits it off into its RGB components. And this generator one, which is an interesting one, just basically procedurally generates textures. I'm gonna need these for later on when I'm generating like trees and rocks and stuff like that. Cause I'm thinking about adding a couple of additional procedural generation stuff to the game, other than just land. Because I do have a rock generator, and I want to build up some tree generators too to make the geometry look more entertaining. For the first one I had to do, I just needed a standard process because I'm just taking a texture A and outputting a texture B that's blurred, so it kind of makes sense in that regard. Um, so I've wrapped these into a class, but I'm also using a manager to basically just keep one instance of this. Um, it's fairly straightforward. I initialize a frame buffer, a render buffer, and geometry for the shader. And now you just bind the frame buffer and just draw. That's all you need to do. And I've actually simplified it to this function call, so I can use it for any texture in the game now without just reusing that structure. And I only need one instance of it. I also did that to the shader classes as well. And this video might be a little longer because I've just got so much more work done. As you can see, I have a shader manager too. They're all getting initialized, and They're all getting initialized in this class. I mean the window kind of procedure. I'm gonna move these to probably a graphics kind of wrapper later on to keep this file pretty clean because I'm gonna need to do some stuff in this file after I get done with prototyping the game. Okay, let's move on. For right now, let's do a comparison between the two. So let's see here. Hmm. Well, I'm gonna have to redo the demonstration real quick. So let's do that real fast. For some reason, I don't know if it's OBS or OBS is a little program I'm using for screen recording, or Visual Studios, or this program. But for some reason, every time I try to render an OpenGL scene, it kind of cuts it in half in the screen. So yeah, I'm about to redo this real fast. Oh well, whatever. It's cool. Where was I doing? Okay. Let me rebuild real quick. Come on. All right. Now this one should work. Hopefully. Let's see here. Let's go take a look up here real quick. As you can see, this is how it was originally being rendered. Um, it looks like it's blending slightly. That's because the blend texture itself is using the linear kind of filter for textures. That's why it's somewhat blending a little bit. It's not really that great looking. It's kind of ugly. If we're using nearest, and if you did nearest, it would just be just blocky. So yeah, it's better to use a linear filter, but you probably should go with trying to see if you can actually blur the texture slightly, because it actually smooths out a lot of issues from doing just a linear kind of texture stuff. So let me show you what I mean by that quick. Where am I? Let's see here. What am I doing? There we go. Alright. Okay. Alright, this is the blend of the new version of the map. And as you can see, way smoother. It gets rid of a lot of those kind of nasty kind of ridges and stuff like that. It actually smooths it out quite a bit. It's almost as good as the static terrain demo is demonstrating. It's pretty close to it, but I'm doing this on the fly. Yep, it's practically doing the same thing on this texture. It's not bad. There's other ways of doing this, which I'm not entirely sure how to do them, but eh, I'm fine with the simple blurring method. It actually works quite well. All right, this ended this update. All right, I just let me show you real quick. I am currently working on UE programming, so I just got done implementing a font renderer for our little game. The font renderer itself is not very optimized just yet. Um, it's really kind of silly what it does. If you look at game, let's see here, go back to game real quick. Um, simply just print where you want to put the text, which this one is going to be at position 1 1 during the hup pass of the game. It's going to print off the player position, and I'm getting the player position from the camera cords currently. And it does a second one at position 1 on the X and 22 on the Y, and it's going to print off the player's rotation of the camera. I do have some color methods with this. As you can see here, I'm simply using a shader for this, and it's pretty straightforward. I might use this for something like some sort of mapping technique when I get to modeling players. But for now, it works pretty well for fonts. Can't talk right now. I'm tired. I've been working on this all day. Internally, let's take a look at it. That's pretty straightforward. I open the font, which is this font.ttf, which is located here. It's just I think it's a Sans, open source Sans font, and I include a library with it. Just need a license for it, so it's open source. It's pretty simple, straightforward font. I then set the style to bold for now, just to emphasize the font a little bit because it's kind of couldn't show up on the screen too well. Then I generate a texture, and I initialize a quad. Then I set the color to just a white color for the moment. Moving on, I do releases, and here is the print method that I showed you from the game CPP file. And as you can see, I'm using render text blend, which allows for alpha sampling. However, the reason why I said it's unoptimized is this little section right here. It's because I'm not entirely sure what's the speed impact of the font renderer is going to have, because I'm doing texture image 2D multiple times and I'm adding pixels to it, so I'm just not real sure. I'm going to look up, there might be a better way of doing this, but I've done this in the past and it works for pretty much any computer I've used. After that, I rendered the text, which I used a font shader that I showed previously. I'm doing everything, and then I bind the texture, and then I render it. So let me demonstrate it real quick. Make sure this. If you look at the top left portion of the screen, you see font. Let's move this way, and it additively adds to the X. Or actually the Z value. And I'm just moving around, go above here, change it to the Y, so that's working. Go really quick. As you can see, if I'm rotating the camera, the coordinates change. It's kind of hilarious that if you look up, it's negative 90, and if you look down, it's 90. Weird. Yep, this. One thing I might show you real quick, I did do some updates to the water. I made it where it's more complex. I'm doing several samples, like there's a bigger sample on top, a medium-sized sample for the middle portion of it, and a smaller one for the bottom. Just added some layers, make it look more entertaining, and I did some alterations to the land to make it a little bigger. But other than that, I think this update is done. Oh boy, that took a few days. I was busy working on the. Let me get to the issues real quick, the closed ones. I just closed it. see here. I've been working on this issue for 6 days straight. I finally got it done. The UE programming is complete for now until I go back through and polish it. I have added font rendering, labels, buttons, checkbox, text box, select buttons, and a slider for once I integrate a sound API. Let's just say it took a bit. I kind of got tired in the middle. The reason why it took so long to get this one finished is that I was kind of just on one of those kind of it's kind of like a writer's block. I just needed to take a break for a few days, but I'm back and finally got out of that little rut I was in. Let's look at the code real quick. Well, as you can see, I have everything implemented, which includes obviously I need to look for a rectangle. This is used for like detecting where the mouse position is. It's just for kind of a little bitty collision system for the UE. But as you can see, I have a kind of an interface that all components kind of adapt, but don't use every single piece of functionality from it. There's labels, a button, a checkbox, a text box, a select button, which is kind of like a one of those kind of select list things, but it's a button, and a slider. Um, all these are managed by this UE manager right here, which has the option of having a background or a no background whatsoever. And this other thing right here is used for globals such as geometry and that sort of thing, and it manages the communication between the UE system and the window. So there's an abstraction there, but this is at the global level. So let's see here. Internally, as you can see, yeah, it just took a bit. Kind of a big file. I said the biggest function is I think this one, due to the fact that this is for the text box, and I had to wrap up a ton of stuff for the keyboard. And there's probably a better way to do this. There's input method through SDL that I didn't have a chance to take a look at, but it's perfect. It's what I need for now. Let's build it. I'm going to run this little example real quick. And here it is. This right here is a label. This is a button. You press it. As you can see, it does an event. This right here is a checkbox, and if you keep pressing it, if it's bright red, it's true, or off. If it's dark red, it's off. This right here is a text box, and if you click this, you can start typing in it. Hello world. It's not like a regular text box. You can't position the cursor because there's no cursor. But for now, that's all I really need. You can has pretty much all characters. You can't hold down the. I might need to fix that later, but you can use special characters if it reads it. Yeah, this one was probably the most complex one that I had to do some research on. This is a select button. You just click it, and it goes to different things. And this one right here is a slider. Oops. I think for now, this is pretty much it for this update. The next little section will be me kind of utilizing this system for inside the game object real quick. I mean the game itself. Alright, this is, I just updated the game.hn.cpp file and added in a simple little menu to basically, well, make it just to demonstrate an application of the UE system. So I segmented it off down here to basically create a simple little menu for continuing the game or exiting the game. So let me demo it real quick. Alright, you can still move around and that sort of stuff. And look around the water here. And let's just watch this water for a minute. Press exit, pauses the game, and it opens up a menu for you, which has two options. You can continue the game, and it goes back to being normal, or you can exit it. It's pretty straightforward and very simple little fix to the system. So, alright, the next update I'm going to work on, because this one's been closed, is going to be a maintenance one, because I need to do this because, well, let's just say, excuse me. I'll show you real quick. As you can see, there's a lot of source code now, and part of that source code is for, seems like I'm building an engine, which I kind of am with this framework, and the other part is going to be segmented off to being a runnable, which is going to be in a run file. So it's going to be a static library for the engine specific stuff and a simple executable file for the game related stuff. So the next issue is going to be this one. The main reason why I'm doing it is to basically make compile times quicker. Alright, hello again. I just got done with this maintenance issue. The reason why I needed to do this maintenance issue is because I was having a compiling issue where I was compiling so much source code that it was kind of slow to do testing, so I decided to split the executable, which will contain the game code, away from the engine code, which now I have an engine. Yay! I've got engine code. I split them off from each other, so. And how I determined that was, this is the system file. Anything that's included in this system file is part of the engine. So that basically means logger, configuration, window, input, graphics, shader, geometry, render passes, preprocessing, font rendering, UE, camera, and the procedural terrain. So all this stuff is part of the engine. Let's go to properties real quick. As you can see, that I'm doing it as a static library, and which basically means that there's not going to be any DLL files for it, so I don't have to worry about that one. As for the runnable, it's only a few files, which is the game header, proc, terrain test, and UE test, and its corresponding CPP source files and the main file. Yeah, I already rebuilt it. I'm not gonna build it on screen, but yes, it does work. But let's play it real quick. Alright. Testing, make sure tab's not working. It's still working. You can still do the menu thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this maintenance update for the game. So, execute. And the next one I'm going to work on is going to be state management, which is a very important thing that I need to get into the game quickly because it will help me out with a lot of things. Okay, I got this state manager working, kind of. I ran into some weird issues with the state manager, but I think it has to do with some of the code I was written before in the engine itself. So I'm debating if I need to write up my own kind of texture manager for this game. Well, let me show you what I've done so far. Where was it? All right, in the game itself, in the engine, I have this class right here, which basically wraps, which I create a new kind of window callback. I wrap the state manager with inside this to make it a little simpler. So you have a window, then you have states for that said window, and the iState is very similar to the iWindow callback, for the exception of set window callback, which basically allows you to get access to these functions. And I made an abstract state that basically implements this function. In the game, I made several states. These are right here. I have one for one logo, a second logo, and a start menu, plus the game state. All the issues I've had have been in this game state thing, which has something to do with the releases. I've been looking at the code for a couple hours trying to figure out what it is, but that's how it goes. Well, let's start this real quick. Well, you can exit the game. And you can click through it real quick. Start. And it's basically just building the map for you. Okay, so we're inside the game. Should be pretty much the same as before. And we can exit real quick. Alright, this is where the problem starts. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on, because now the biomap is set as the primary texture for some reason, and it goes way up in the air. So I don't know what's going on here. Weird. Well, I'm going to add a new issue to try to track down this bug. Oh, in this update. Okay, I just did the maintenance update. I've moved all the textures to a texture manager, which actually fixed several issues. Here it is. For any internal engine-ish textures I need, I'm going to make it as a static. I'm not going to load it from anywhere. It works pretty well. I also fixed a texture issue, which was causing, a UI issue, which was causing some issues. I added an event called onShow event that basically kind of fixes a UI bug. It sometimes doesn't work, but I'm gonna have to look into it later on. I think everything's built. Yes, let's play it for now. got rid of the font rendering on the side just for now. Now it works quite well. So I don't know why it still does the UE bug a little bit, but when you do it a second time, it works. I love generation. Let's exit it real quick. Start it again. And you see the island works. And it's generated correctly. I'm probably going to move everything else to kind of be more static eventually. For example, geometry data, it probably should be static as well, just so that it'll load more quickly. Let's see. And this is it for this quick update. I also added an FMOD finally, so finally have FMOD, and I included several logos for both physics and FMOD because I'm using them. Alright. Well, hello again. Finally got done with integrating physics into the game, so I can officially close you. Well, it took a few days because I was trying to. I ran into some issues with libraries. I had to recompile the JSON CPP library, which, if you look at this issue right here, kind of explains it. In -mt basically means that it's multi-threaded, but it doesn't use a DLL file, where this -md option for the runtime library means I'll do multi-threaded with a DLL file. So Bullet Physics apparently has it where it doesn't allow for DLL multi-threading, so I had to recompile that library. It wasn't that hard, it just had to recompile just the library itself, nothing else. Let's see here. Now the physics system is actually quite straightforward. I don't have to do any static stuff with it because I create the physics stuff when the map is created, because I don't really see a need to keep the physics manager around for extended periods of time. So it only appears in the game state itself. So it's pretty much similar to the physics kind of example that I did earlier. Down here I have a simple physics camera that's pretty much almost identical to the previous one. Now, once I run this, you'll realize that there's something funny about the island. And I'll show you real quick. Let's get this started. Alright, start. Wait a few seconds, and it should start up. As you may have noticed, the island is kind of bigger than I thought. If you move around, as you can see, I got crates in the level. The player is roughly 2 meters tall. I'm kind of setting geo units to equal 1 meter. So this meter is 1,024 meters across, which is pretty good size. So if we go over here, let's try to walk the entire island. As you can see, I finally have movement implemented. The player can interact with these crates, push them around. You can push them into each other. Pretty cool. You can go into this water. Now, there's no animation for this yet, but there will be. Thinking about maybe making another kind of mesh that moves the player up and down on side to side when they're in the water, just a fake kind of water physics when the player's in it. Right now there's no sound, so you can't really hear anything. But yeah, this island is way bigger than I thought it would be. Way bigger. If you remember from the previous videos, I was flying across the island in like seconds. It could take several minutes for me to go around this whole entire beach around the island. Yeah, it's. I've also been looking into kismatic rigid bodies, which I will probably make the player itself into a kismatic. But for right now, I think it as a regular rigid body might be fun and just pretty straightforward. And not to mention, it's kind of hilarious when it hits it because it'll launch the player. Might as well keep some broken physics in. We go into the middle. The player goes up on the height map. Toward the middle. Get around these other crates. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo the texture of these crates to make it look more. Yes, as you can see, there's jumping as well. Yeah, this island is quite large. I will probably keep it that way, just because it might be an interesting twist to have a pick and six game in such a large object, and not to mention it is third person, so I think I'm done with showing them off. Actually, I will show you one more thing. Yes, I might actually include a mini map for this game. I'm gonna have to fix up the camera a little bit because it's a little bit janky. Could be the OBS that's causing the issue, but other than that, it works. Nope. One thing I also did, I completed one of my look at the issues in here. I completed one of the bucket list items in this, which was integrate bullet physics with a procedural generated island system, and it works beautifully. I do have some optimization ideas. I'm thinking about maybe moving when I'm dealing with buffers. I'm going to probably move it to a more static system instead of dynamic, because each time I'm generating an island, I'm creating a new island. So what I'm thinking about doing is making it more static, so I can keep the buffers around. Then I just re-upload the buffers to it. It might speed up some things. Well, I'll get into that once I start doing more optimizations. I think that's it. Alright. I just got started on the audio issue for iteration 2, and as you may know, I decided to change from OpenAL to FMOD. Uh, the reason is kind of simple. I wanted to really learn FMOD, and plus, I didn't really want to make my own audio API. I can always do that later. Another reason why I don't want to use OpenAL at the moment is that I'm not really sure how well it's supported. There hasn't been an update in like 10 years on that library from Creative Labs. So I don't know if it's being maintained or not. So I decided to use FMOD, which is an awesome library that lets you do 3D audio. It's proprietary, but there is an open source license for it, so I can use it for my project. I probably will add in their logo to it just to advertise for them for
this little game. FMOD's a pretty nice library. I wanted to learn it because, well, it's used by professionals. Um, right now, I've made some sounds and a crappy song in the background, which I'm going to demonstrate right now. So let's go to here. Data and sounds. I will. The song title Static Noise. It's kind of a chippy kind of song. It's not really that great. And the next four are sound effects, which there's a crate, which is a really short sound. Basically, as soon as a crate hits the ground, it'll do this. The next one is walking. It's when the player takes a step. Running. And ocean. What I did was just like very quickly in a couple hours just created that song and these sound effects for testing. I'm gonna do better for music. I'm gonna try to aim for more ambient kind of sound for the game. I don't want like upbeat stuff. I don't think it makes any perfect sense for this small little game. Um, for sound effects, I'm gonna try to do some recording away from my house if I can. If not, I might have to fake it a little bit. I think this is it. Okay, I just got done with the audio issue and it took forever. I kept pushing back my deadline because of this issue. I actually rewrote it twice because for some I was having some weird issues with 3D audio, which I'm gonna go back to later and try to solve it. But I managed to create a simple audio system. So let me show you the source code real quick. Let's see here. Let's go to sound. Here it is. As you can see, this big section right here has been commented out. That was the original one. It didn't really work out too well, but anyway. Here's the audio system. For right now, I'm just using 2D audio because 3D audio is kind of weird, and I'm just trying to put my mind around it. There's some stuff I need to kind of solve with it. Um, let's dig in. I have a sound manager which basically manages the audio. There is a file that it loads up, which is this sound file format. You can set the maximum number of pools, channel pools, because well, each channel, a sound can have more than one channel if you want to, so you can have multiple sound effects playing all at the same time. I have a number of effects, which walking, running, jumping, ocean ambience, and a crappy song that I made in like about 2 hours a few days ago. Um, these categories basically represent
what sound control kind of controls like the volume of the sound effect. Like these three right here, and their sound effects. So it's controlled by the sound effect control. This one is an ambient sound, so it's controlled by ambience. And this song is controlled by the music control. There's also an overcompensing master control, which will turn the sound down or up depending on if you manipulate it. They're also looping, which these ones obviously need to be false because they're sound effect. The ambient and the song one are true. For now, I'm only using one pull, and this path is kind of explanatory. It just gives the location for the file. Alright, let's move on. It's pretty straightforward in the sound file, which is right here. Um, as you can see, a bunch of code is commented out, which I have to delete that later, or I might keep it in for reference. It's pretty straightforward. All sound files are part of the FMOD 2D library stuff, and it will go to a different channel if you're not finishing playing it. There's stop. It gets how long the file is. Down here is the sound manager. Everything gets set up from a JSON file like it showed, and I update like each channel's volume. As you can see, I'm multiplying it by a master volume, which the cool thing about this set volume is that it takes values between 0 and 1, so that means it's all units, so you can do some fun multiplication with it to kind of scale it kind of a bit, and release, and some other utility functions. Let's play it real quick. Boing. 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 Blew out your eardrums. I guess that's it for this issue. Finally, it's done. Close it. And good issues. Let's go to milestones. And I'm 100% complete for iteration 2. This means that I'm finally done with this and I can start on iteration number 3. Yay. Which is going to be me prototyping the game, and I can't wait because I've been wanting to prototype the game for a while. So let's close this. So the next iteration, it's going to have more than one issue in this. I'm still trying to think of what type of issues I'm going to need. For right now, this has this one, which prototype the game. Um, I have to review my notes from like a month ago to remember what I want to do because I'm making a pig and sticks game, aka clone. So you're obviously going to be collecting sticks. I think I remember correctly. I had it where you can collect trash bags, TVs, and I guess a V8 engine, if I remember correctly. There was 3 modes. One is classic pick and six mode. Another one is like collecting a certain amount of points and it ends the game, and then there's a time game. And that's what I'm going to be working on next after this. Let's go back to here. And as you can see, I did it. I have now 57 commits, so yay! Yeah, this is up to date. Well, alright. I hope you guys enjoyed all those issues. um, it was pretty hectic. Last night I got done with the sound issue, which was kind of a pain. And yeah, I'm not too familiar with 3D audio. It it really kind of set me back for like about a week or so. Um, I'm just happy that this framework is working. There's still some optimizations I need to do to it, but that will come right after I get done with just getting the game prototyped. See what I need after the fact, because one, I need to update the graphics obviously because this won't look like a good game. And number two, I need to basically make it where you can configure stuff through the menu. So I need to add options and that sort of thing, but that will come later on after the prototyping is finished. Um, so yeah, next, hopefully in 2 weeks. Hopefully it won't be any longer than that. If it is, I will be sure to update you guys through a post on YouTube. I'm not entirely sure how I'll do it on BitChute. I could probably start using social media to make it easier just to give you guys an update. But other than that, I think this is it. So the next video after this will be me finally getting a prototype of the game done, where basically I have all my ideas kind of fleshed out of what this game is going to be about. And I hope to catch you in that next video. Well, you all take care and see you next time.